All right, this is lesson 9.5, which is solving quadratic equations by the quadratic formula. So this is the last method for solving quadratic equations that we will learn in this chapter. So we're going to be looking at, again, solving these equations. They're going to be of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So this is the formula. It's a long one. If we were in class, I would sing it to you, but I'm not going to do that over video. So it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, and so pretty much what you're going to be doing is substituting in all those values and then computing it using this formula. So this might seem like a ridiculous formula to know, but it is definitely something that'll be very useful in high school. All right, so example 1, we have x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. So it's already in the format we need. Everything is on the left-hand side, and it's in order. So our a value is the number in front of x squared, which is 1. Our b value is the number in front of x, which is negative 8. And then our c value is 16. So plugging this in or substituting it into the quadratic equation, we would have x equals negative b, so technically we'd have negative 8 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so that first step is kind of just a matter of plugging everything in where it belongs. Okay, so from here we're going to compute. So that negative 8 is just a positive 8. We would have plus or minus. In the square root, negative 8 squared is 64, minus 4 times 1 times 16 is also 64, and then be all over 2. Okay, so all I did was kind of calculate that and that. Our next step, we can compute that 64 minus 64. So that would be 8 plus or minus the square root of 0, all over 2. Well, the square root of 0 is 0. So this is just 8 plus or minus 0 over 2. It doesn't matter if we do 8 plus 0 or 8 minus 0, we get 8 regardless. So we have 8 over 2, which is 4. Okay, so this equation has one solution, and that solution is x is 4. Okay, in example B, we have 3x squared minus 1 equals x. We need to get everything on one side and in order. So we're going to subtract x from both sides. So we would get 3x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. Our a value is 3, our b value is negative 1, and our c value is negative 1. Okay, so we're going to substitute this in. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so our denominator would be 6. We would end up with a positive 1 plus or minus. We would have 1, and then when we take 4 times 3 times negative 1, that gives us negative 12, and we have minus negative 12, so that would be plus 12. So we have 1 plus or minus root 13 over 6. We don't know the square root of 13, so this one we can just leave as our answer. So this technically is two answers, 1 plus root 13 over 6, and then 1 minus root 13 over 6. Okay, we're going to do 2 more examples. Please keep watching because each of these has something different in it that's important for you to know. So please watch through all 4 of these. Even if you think you have the hang of it, again, each one has something slightly different. All right, for C, I'm actually going to change these numbers so we can look at something else. So we're going to try 2x squared minus x equals 1. Okay, so again, it's important that we get everything on one side. So we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we have 2x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. Okay, so our a value is 2, our b value is negative 1, our c value is negative 1. So we would have x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so we would have a denominator of 4. This would give us a positive 1. And then here we would have 1 plus oops, sorry, 1 plus 8. Okay, so again, we have 4 times 2 times negative 1 gives us negative 8, and then we have that minus negative 8 would give us a positive 8. Okay, so we have 1 plus or minus root 9 over 4. Okay, now what I want to point out in this one is this gives us two solutions, and we know what the square root of 9 is, so we can write this as 1 plus or minus 3 over 4. Okay, so this gives us two answers, 1 plus 3 over 4, and then 1 minus 3 over 4. So 1 plus 3 over 4, that'd be 4 over 4, which is 1. Here we would get negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. Okay, so our two final answers for this would be 1 and negative 1/2. Okay, so in the case that we know the square root, we want to actually calculate it and then do the two values. A lot of you, I think almost all of them on your homework today are like this, where you'll be able to get two answers that are pretty exact. Okay, if you don't know the square root, you would just leave it as root 13. But if you know the square root, you can kind of keep going. Okay, all right, and then the last one I want to go over again, there's something extra that's different in this one, so please watch this one also. Okay, for this one, everything is in order right away. So A is 10, B is negative 7, and then C is 5. So we would have x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so our denominator would be 20. This would give us a positive 7 when we have that minus negative. Plus or minus, we would have positive 49 minus 50. Okay, so this gives us 7 plus or minus root negative 1 over 20. Okay, now we've talked about in previous lessons that this square root of negative 1 we cannot do. It's an imaginary number. We say it's no solution. So this would be a case that has no solution. So because we can't compute that negative 1, this equation has no solution. And again, if we tie that back into the parabola, this would be a parabola that opens upward, and the vertex is above the x-axis, so it has no x-intercepts. Okay, we're not going to worry about the word problem for these video lessons. So those are the 4 examples that we went through. Again, we can have some that have one solution, some of them that have 2 solutions, but we just leave it with that square root, and then some of them where we're going to actually compute the 2, and then we can also have no solution. So those are kind of all of our possibilities. All right. I don't think I have any extra notes to discuss for this lesson, so keep doing a great job. Submit your homework on Google Classroom, and make sure you're checking my comments. I'm writing comments back to you guys, so make sure you're looking at those, and then I will see you sort of tomorrow.